Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'd like to show you how I made this wooden mallet just out of some scrap salvaged wood from an old sofa. So my dad recently had a new sofa, and I asked him to keep a couple of pieces of wood from the old one, and there was a couple of pieces of really hard wood which I thought would be great for a mallet head. So before I can use this wood, I had to remove many staples. And for the handle, I'll be using an old broom handle, which is also a hardwood, and the main piece of wood is now ready to mark up with the speed square. So for the head of the mallet, I went for a width of around 5 inches, or about 14 centimeters. I then went ahead and cut this out on the miter saw. And using the first piece as a template, I made the second cut. And the head is going to be made up of 2 pieces of this wood. So for later on, I roughly measured up the length of the handle and marked it up, and then cut out that length. So now I needed to just flatten 2 faces of these pieces of wood ready for gluing up. If I had a planer thicknesser, I'd run it through the thicknesser, but I don't have one, so hopefully this will work just fine. Luckily they were roughly square anyway. Now I'm going to apply plenty of glue. And sandwich the 2 pieces together. I then took all the clamps that I could get on here and carefully added them and made them nice and tight. And wiped off any excess glue. I then left this to dry by the radiator inside. And then I just gave the handle a quick sanding over because it's quite an old handle and it's got some grime on it. So the next morning I released the clamps. And luckily it stuck just fine. So all the holes from the staples I wanted to fill, so I mixed up some very fine sawdust with some glue and made a wood filler to fill in all the holes. And I'm going to put that part of the mallet head at the bottom so it's not as visible anyway. So now using a belt sander, I'm just going to clean up all the faces of the mallet head. And it came out very good. Now I wanted to find some center points. I decided to add some features onto the sides of this mallet. I'm going to add some of the dowel handle into the sides for decoration so that it matches the handle. Before I do that, I just decided to round over all the edges of the mallet head with a round over bit in my trim router. And I'm going to be using a Forstner bit of equal diameter to put the dowels in. So when adding these dowels in, I used plenty of glue. I wanted one in either side of the head, and the Forstner bit wasn't long enough to go all the way through. So I'm going to put one on each side, and hopefully this might add a little bit of strength to the overall mallet head as well. So once the one side was done, I cut it flush with a pull saw and then cleaned it up on the belt sander. And then I repeated the process for the other side. So these two dowels go all the way through and meet in the middle. Now I wanted to add the handle. I've got a nice deep hole there. I'm not going to go all the way through. And I've used plenty of glue here to add it. I'm not going to be using a wedge here. I'm going to be using another dowel to make sure that the handle never comes out. And I just hammered the handle in. Once the glue was dry, I'm going to use these thin dowels, and these are actually lollipop sticks that I've saved, and I thought they might come in handy. So this dowel will go all the way through the head and lock the handle into position. Here I'm just using the drill press to drill the hole all the way through, and I've got a piece of wood underneath to prevent any blowout. Again, I added plenty of glue in here. And the same to the dowel. And then hammered it through. I also decided to add a piece of dowel to the top, just as decoration to match with the sides. So once the glue was dry, I cut all the dowel flush, again with the pull saw. And then cleaned up all the faces on the belt sander. I then gave the mallet an overall sanding to remove any of the burn marks on the edges from the router bit, and just to make it nice and smooth. I then hand sanded it with a 120 grit, and then went up to a 240 grit to make it feel nice and smooth. And I added a slight taper to the handle too, just by sanding it, and then it felt nice and ready for the finish. For the finish, I decided to use boiled linseed oil. I did a bit of research online, and this seemed to be the most common thing to use to finish a mallet. I applied the oil with a brush, and it really made the grain pop out nicely. If you know what these woods are, please comment down below and let me know. I know they're hardwood, but I'm not sure which type of hardwood. And adding the dowel in the sides, it really popped out nicely and matched well with the handle. I then just buffed off any excess oil with a cloth. For a final touch, I decided to add a hole in the bottom of the handle to accommodate a leather strap, just for decoration and just if you want to hang it up. So once I drilled the hole, I sanded it with a little bit of sandpaper, and then I used some of the reclaimed leather from the sofa to make this strap. So I cut a thin section out, and this was about 5mm thick. I then just added a bit of wax to help to stiffen up the leather. Then I could tie a knot in one end. And then thread it onto the handle. I just used a little bit of wire to help me to get it through. And that was the mallet all done. I thought I'd give it a quick testing out with this new chisel set that I've actually had about 18 months now, but I've not got round to using yet, and with little effort it works really well. So that's about it for this video. I was really pleased with how the mallet turned out in the end. I think it looks quite decorative, and I'm surprised just how robust it is, and it actually works and feels good in the hand. So hopefully it will be working for a few years to come. If you found this video useful, please remember to like and also consider subscribing for more DIY related videos. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.